Hi there, everybody. My name is Soul, and today, as you can see, maybe if you've read the title, maybe if you took one look at the screen before you, I'm doing a tier list of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I was actually waiting for Doctor Strange before doing this tier list, so I was waiting for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and it got delayed, and nobody told me, and I was waiting until next month in March, but now it's not going to happen till May, so since we finally are able to take a break of MCU content for a little bit, Marvel has finally pumped the brakes for at least a minute. We can catch up, reflect, take some time to look at the films prior, really digest what's going on here. How do we feel about these films? I've never talked about the majority of these films on this channel or any other, so you have no idea what I'm going to be putting in these slots on this tier list. Speaking of the categories that are within this tier list, I like to, make a little customization for my tier list. In the top category, up there, the glorious category where the best of the best, the 100% gem quality Marvel films, Stan Lee, the man, the myth, the legend. Under that, we have Infinite. These are for the films that aren't like your favorites, but they're the next best thing. The 9 out of 10 films. And below that, we have Super. These are the films that are good. They're just not completely amazeballs as the rest of the films. And below that, we have the worst thing a Marvel film could be, which, keep in mind, I don't think any of these films are bad. I don't even think they're below average. I think the worst Marvel films are just the worst thing you can be on the internet, which is mid. And below that, you have the ones I haven't seen, which we can just get those out of the way now. I haven't seen Incredible Hulk. I haven't seen Iron Man 3. And those seem like some of the most inconsequential ones, so my bad. But for the most part, I've been pretty good about keeping up on my MCU content. I am a film fan. I like to go to the theaters, and nowadays, half of the films coming out in the theaters are these films. They make half of the money that is theaters, so love them or hate them, we need them to keep the theaters alive. And I can't think of a better experience I had in the theater than with Marvel's Avengers Endgame. Which, if you didn't already know, the way I like to do these tier lists, I like to put one film in each slot just to kind of give an idea of how I feel about those slots. And as far as the best films go, Endgame I like even more than Infinity War. I like the big finales. I like the Return of the Jedis, the big end character stuff. Those are the films I like the most, and Endgame embodies that perfectly. The culmination of so many characters, so many character moments, and a lot of fan service, and it makes for an epic film that probably won't be matched in hype anytime soon. Below that, the first Avengers, and at the time, that was the bar set for hype, and no one really knew how important this film would be. No one knew that, Marvel films are going to take over for the next decade and a half. And it all kind of started with the first Avengers. It was the first time we saw all these characters from different films meet up in this big ensemble piece where they kick ass and take names. And yeah, it was fucking awesome. I don't think it's better than Endgame or probably other films that are going to be up there, but it's still a wonderful film. It holds up, but it still slaps. And under that, we have Super, and the perfect film for that is Ant-Man. And the reason I say that is Ant-Man, it's worth having in your MCU marathon. It's a good film. I don't think it's great or anything. The stakes are a lot smaller. Paul Rudd isn't like my go-to superhero, but I still enjoy Ant-Man. I don't think it's on the upper tiers of the MCU though. And below that, mid. What's the perfect mid film? Think back on all the MCU films and think which one was like the most like completely forgettable and okay. For me, that is Iron Man 2. No one cares about Iron Man 2. And after that, we can get started. The person who organized this tier list, I don't really know what they were going for, because it's not an order of release, and it's not like an order of timeline or anything like that. It's just whatever the first posters they found, I guess, were. So I'm going to try to organize this a little bit better as I go along here. I think we'll start with the Captain America movies. Captain America 1, the first Avenger. I honestly think both the first Captain America and Iron Man films are a little overhyped. In fact, I'm immediately gonna cut off a lot of people. I'm gonna piss off a lot of people, but I'm gonna put Iron Man and the first Captain America in super. For me, they're just good films. I watched my MCU order a little backwards. Like, I had already seen Civil War by the time I watched these two films. So really, I already knew what these characters are about. Getting the origin story didn't really help them. And the stories for those particular films, I just don't find that interesting. But they're still good films. I still enjoy them, and they're inarguably important to the MCU. It's just, do I want to watch that more than like Thor Ragnarok? No. Do I want to watch that more than like No Way Home? No. So for me, they're kind of in that middle area. And after that, we have the Winter Soldier, which this is gonna be potentially the hardest film in here for me, because I did really like Winter Soldier. I don't think I like it nearly as much as a lot of other people. There's a bunch of people that would put Winter Soldier all the way up here. And keep in mind, I already saw Civil War before I watched this film, so I didn't really care for Bucky, and then they tease Nick Fury dying, and it's the most waste of a plot thread you've ever seen in a Marvel film. So I think despite all that, though, it's still like the perfect Captain America film. I think Infinite, the like lower end of that tier, is where it belongs. And I'm not going left to right, by the way. Maybe I'll clean that up later, but for now it's just a big old list. But for now, it is what it is. After that, who should we do after that? Thor. The original Thor is super. I think this might have actually been my first Marvel film, and it was not that impressionable. Every time they go to Asgard, the CGI fest, it just makes my eyeballs bleed. But other than that, it's all right. Then you have Thor: The Dark World, which I watched once, and I never remembered a single thing about it ever again. And considering how many people dunk on this film, considering how unimportant it is, and how it felt like Thor really needed to be like fixed after this film, like he really needed a change up, and that's exactly what they did, and it was all for the better. Thor is all over the place on the MCU, man. But as far as The Dark World is concerned, it's potentially the worst Marvel film. And then you got Thor Ragnarok, which was like one of the best popcorn movies I've ever seen. I love Thor Ragnarok. I'm gonna put him up there with Stan Lee. This is what MCU movies are to me in their purest form. They're a bunch of fun. It's stupid, dumb dialogue that actually makes you laugh, though. It's big, fun fight scenes, and it's ridiculous, and it knows it's ridiculous, but it's trying to have fun. And I can't think of a more fun film in this whole entire tier list than Thor Ragnarok. Who do we want to do after that? I guess since we already did Ant-Man, we can do Ant-Man and the Wasp. I don't know if this should be at the bottom of super or at the top of mid. It's, again, a very inconsequential movie. It felt like, you know, your decaf Marvel film when you just wanted to make another film on this onslaught of films before Endgame came out. And I don't know, man. I don't think it's a bad film. I feel like these are much worse, but these are probably closer to how I feel. I'm gonna put it up in super. I know a lot of people really don't like that film, and I get it, but I had a good enough time to put it next to like the original Ant-Man, you know? Oh yeah, I forgot to do Civil War. Civil War is really what brought me back into the MCU, because before this film came out, yeah, I saw like a decent handful of these films, but after Civil War, I was like, oh, no, I love this shit. I need to get caught up, and I need to be a part of this because that was so much fun and I love this film to death. That being said, I don't know if I want to put it up here in Infinite or if I want to put it up here in Stan Lee. I'm gonna put it at the top of Infinite for now, but I think this is one of the films I really need to rewatch. A lot of these films I haven't seen in like a decade, so it's really hard to go off an impression of something you felt on a single day 10 years ago. As much as I want to be a robot and hack my brain into knowing what I feel about everything all the time, that's the best I can do. Let's get some of these other ones out the way. The original Guardians and Guardians 2, I would say, are both Infinite. These two films, I think I need to rewatch more than most of them, because the first Guardians I saw like over the span of 3 days in 3 separate viewing times, so it really messed with my enjoyment. And Guardians 2, I don't really remember a whole lot, and actually knowing how like Celestials work, I think it would really be a good idea to watch those two films again. But I remember enjoying them. I enjoyed them more than Winter Soldier, and they're really fun, and I'm super psyched for Guardians 3. And no one knew how good these films would be. James Gunn took what could have been just another Guardians project. It's pretty much, it could have just been like Eternals on terms of like how much you care about these characters, but no, you love Guardians after you've seen it. These are some of the biggest characters in the MCU now, and that's because of how good these films were. After that, I guess we can start doing the Spider-Man films. First one, we have Homecoming, and I really enjoyed Homecoming. I don't think it's better than like the Sam Raimi, the first two at least, but I still think it's really damn good. I'm gonna put it up here with Infinite at the lower end of Infinite, but I still love that film. And now that like a lot of the things I didn't like about Tom Holland's universe, a lot of that has been fixed in No Way Home. There's like certain like little nitpicks I had, but they literally got rid of them since I've seen this film. So I can only give it more brownie points because I have little to complain about now. And the same thing goes for Far From Home. I think I might actually like Far From Home better just because I love Mysterio, and they're out of New York. They're in a unique location, and it takes place after Endgame, so there was like a lot of questions answered, and I had a lot of fun with it. And the latest film, and probably one of the best films in the Marvel Universe, is No Way Home. This was a spectacular film. This film had the weight of the world on its shoulder, and it stood its ground like a beast. There's so many things wrong that could have happened with this film, and a couple things slipped through the cracks, but for the most part, this film was everything I wanted it to be. Again, these 3 films, I can't imagine a more fun time at the theater. I can't imagine loving these films more because they did everything I wanted them to and more. Sure, I can nitpick a lot of things. It's still a very corporate CGI film, and there's a lot of things that felt unnatural or uncanny valley at times, but Spider-Man No Way Home is fucking amazing. But those are nothing to the amount of emotion I get from watching No Way Home, seeing the big spoilers that happen in those films. Nothing will make me as hype or as sad or as emotional as No Way Home did, and you can watch my entire video I did about it on this channel. I love that film. And I think after that, we'll start doing a lot of the one-off films. Doctor Strange was great. It was, you know, a little too all over the place at times. It was a little messy, but I think they introduced this new character wonderfully. I think they dealt with his fuck all powers. It didn't like break the MCU or anything. At least it didn't entirely. And yeah, it was a good time. Captain Marvel is at like the bottom of super, maybe the top of mid. That one's actually really tough. I don't dislike Captain Marvel. I know some people hate this film, but it was just kind of emotionless. It was featless, despite like giving Captain Marvel the most amount of feats for doing nothing. She's just super strong. And that really takes the stakes off a lot of what's happening, and The story is super forgettable. I think Captain Marvel might be at the top of mid. Yeah, I think that's a safe place for her. Whereas Iron Man 2 and Thor, I might give like a 5 out of 10, maybe a 6. I would give Captain Marvel a 7, like a super light 7. I think that's still mid though. Then we got Black Widow, which I actually like Black Widow. I know some people dunk on this film, but I think it's just as good. Actually, I think I like Black Widow more than all of these films. I know I like Black Widow more than Iron Man. What a sin. What a blight. How dare I? But Black Widow had Florence Pugh in it, but Iron Man really just wanted to be the next Dark Knight so bad it kind of like didn't really match the rest of the universe it created. Whereas Black Widow knows exactly what it is. Again, I know I'm gonna get roasted for that, but I would put Black Widow right there. After that, who should we do? Shang-Chi? I'm gonna put Shang-Chi up here in Infinite. In fact, I would say it's better than literally almost all of these films. Shang-Chi is either the bottom of Stan Lee or the top of Infinite. I think he's safe right here though. Although like the difference between Shang-Chi and Doctor Strange is pretty big. That being said though, I think this is a safe place for him. I feel weird putting him up here with these guys. Black Panther though, yeah, you can go up here. That's Stan Lee. I love Black Panther. Killmonger is probably my favorite MCU villain. When Black Panther came out, it was the biggest film ever at the time, and there's a couple things I don't like about it. The final boss is kind of weird. There's some clunky moments, but I still really like Black Panther. I haven't watched it since it came out, which I feel might change how I feel about it, but I remember walking out of it thinking it was better than any other MCU film I'd seen at the time, except maybe like Thor, so it was doing something right. After that, we got Eternals, which I like Eternals more than I think most people did, but I don't think it's better than like Black Widow or anything, so I'm gonna put it right there. Maybe at the end of this, I'll organize it left to right just to make it more clear how I feel about each film. And after that, I guess it's just the Avengers films and the TV series. So Age of Ultron, I think everyone can agree was the worst of the Avengers films. It didn't really accomplish a whole lot. It just kind of gave us another chance at seeing all these characters. And yeah, it wasn't super interesting, but it was worth watching. I still had a good time with it. Infinity War. I honestly like Infinity War. Infinity War is really hard. I think I would like Infinity War more if I watched it again, but I don't think I liked it more than Shang-Chi, ironically. I know some people are gonna get mad about that, but that's how I feel. WandaVision honestly should be up here, but the last episode made me a little sour on it, and it just didn't really accomplish a whole lot for how much mystery and how much intrigue it had. Like the first couple weeks of it coming out, I was telling everybody they gotta watch WandaVision, and then it kind of ends with a lot of L's. There's like a thing with Quicksilver that's so dumb. I don't know who made that decision, and Agatha and all these different things. I definitely soured on WandaVision a little bit, but it's still really good. It's definitely worth watching. Oh, Falcon and Winter Soldier. I forgot. I never finished Falcon and Winter Soldier, so I'm gonna have to put it in haven't seen. I watched the first half, and I think other things were just coming out at the time, and I never went back. It wasn't that interesting though. I probably would put it mid, but you know, I can't speak because I haven't seen it. After that, we have Loki, which, that's a tough one, man. This is another one where the episodes I liked, I loved. And then there was like 2 episodes, one of which they were on a dying planet. Episodes where Sylvia, was that her name? And Loki, whenever they were on the run and just by themselves, and it's supposed to be like this great chemistry, but it's not that great. I was really just invested in the TVA, and whenever they strayed away from that, I just kind of stopped caring. But the ending finale, it was pretty damn epic, and there's a lot of moments I really like in Loki, but I don't think, like, would I swap it out with like some of these other films down here? Probably not, but I do think it's better. It's at least halfway through better than most of these, so it's gonna go right there. Marvel's What If? I think I would put it up here as well. I really liked some episodes. Some episodes were just, you know, whatever, but now that it's actually going to be somewhat important, and the fact that it's animated and seeing the MCU animated, that's pretty interesting. But it's not as good as it could have been. You know, they really could have thrown money at it and made it like this huge Marvel must-watch property, but it wasn't. And last up, we have Hawkeye. I was told that this show was gonna slap and that it was gonna be so important, and then Kingpin shows up, but I didn't watch the Marvel shows. I didn't think they actually mattered, and now they do, so I have a whole lot of shows to catch up on. But I didn't really care about Kingpin, and the rest of the show is not that good. It doesn't really do a whole lot with Hawkeye. His sidekick isn't that interesting. Florence Pugh doesn't have enough things to do, and I don't really see why they did it if they're just gonna half-ass it like this. It feels like the most filler Marvel thing I've ever watched. Hawkeye is mid, and if I had to do these left to right, I would say that's right. Then I would do this. Then I would do WandaVision, Black Widow, Loki, Age of Ultron, Eternals, What If, Ant-Man, Captain America 1, Iron Man 1, Ant-Man the Wasp, Thor. And above that, I got Shang-Chi, then Infinity War, Civil War, First Avengers, First Guardians, Guardians 2, Doctor Strange, Homecoming, Far From Home, which actually should be above that. Then Captain America Winter Soldier. Above that, I have No Way Home above Thor Ragnarok. Yeah, I would do Endgame, No Way Home, Ragnarok, Black Panther. That is my Marvel tier list, and I know some people are gonna have big problems with certain aspects of that. I know some people might agree with me, but I want to know. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts about my placement here. And I'm sure this list will be updated. I'm gonna have to rewatch some of these films. There's gonna be new films. Maybe I'll get around to watching Iron Man 3, maybe Hulk, maybe Falcon Winter Soldier. And I'm sure a lot of my opinions will change, and the MCU is gonna be going on for like another decade, so I'm sure there's gonna be a completely different list that I'll make at one point in however many years. But until then, thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, with that, I leave you.